Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Grow Your Business Smarter, Live Your Optimal Life TV show. Hi. If you haven't met me yet, I am your host. I'm Dr. Davia Shepherd, and my claim to fame, let's see, what on earth could that possibly be? Not very much, except that I host a small women's group, just about 2,000 women who raise their hands and call themselves members. And basically, there isn't really much that you have to do to be a member, except identify yourself as a woman in business who really feels called to supporting other women in business and collaborating with other women in business in order that everybody can grow. Because I truly believe that when we all support each other, everybody wins. That's my deepest hope, that we will all recognize that we're so much better when we're doing it together as opposed to when we're siloed and doing it alone. This TV show is for entrepreneurs, and a lot of the times as entrepreneurs or women in business, women in small business, we tend to be a little bit siloed. And so this is an opportunity for us to have community around the things that we're doing that we're so passionate about that we need to share with the world. And speaking of sharing with the world, our special guest today is somebody I consider to be a dear friend, somebody who I hold in such high esteem, and somebody with whom I link arms and collaborate. Her name is Elizabeth Hill, and she owns a company called Green Heart Living Press. She is the woman who has published every single one of these amazing anthologies and books that we have been able to put out through the Ladies Power Lunch group. And by the way, if you want to join us in Ladies Power Lunch, go to growsmarter.harder.com/Facebook, and we invite you to come on in and just be a part of the amazing community, free community that we have been able to build over there. Anyway, on with the show. So I want to welcome dear friend Elizabeth. Elizabeth, may I invite you to share in your own words, because I could sit here all day and tell them all sorts of amazing things about you, and every single one of them would be absolutely true. But can you share in your own words, what is it that you do, and what's that impact that you're making in the world?
Yes, thank you so much, Davia. So what I do in the world is I help people we publish books that are inspiring, and we help people share their stories of inspiration and transformation with the world. My mission is really to make the world a better place, and to do that through people sharing their stories. And it is a dream job that I have. I do get to help people make their dreams come true by becoming best-selling authors and getting books out into the world. And it's also a wonderful place for transformation and healing in the writing process and in the sharing their stories. So I feel like I'm Belle in the library from Beauty and the Beast. Like, I just love being able to have this life where I am creating books, getting to read for a living, and talk to the most amazing people every day. And it's been a pleasure to do that and to collaborate with you on so many different projects and the amazing women that you attract into the world. So thank you for having me be here and giving me these opportunities to grow in my business.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Truly appreciate you. We recently had an amazing Ladies Power Lunch Summit. So for those of you who are familiar, and for those of you who are not, we have every year, we launch an anthology of stories that are shared by Ladies Power Lunch members who feel really passionate about the things that they do. And they use these stories to help others of us who might be going through similar or maybe even the exact same thing to realize that we're not alone. We don't have to go it alone. And there's always somebody who can be supportive of us. And so most recently, back in October, we had the opportunity to share this new anthology called Ignite Your Leadership with the world. We had 16, I think, Elizabeth, 16 outstanding authors. They all came on stage and they shared their stories, and we used that as our launch for our anthology. And of course, Elizabeth was the midwife birthing this whole thing alongside us. So it was truly, truly a gift. And the theme was Ignite Your Leadership. Elizabeth, can you share with us when that theme, Ignite Your Leadership, came to the table and we started talking about it? What did it really evoke for you? When you think leadership, what's coming to mind for you?
Well, I got really excited when you were talking about this being the topic for this book, this idea of collaborative leadership and hierarchy, if you will, of this, right? Of using words that not many people know and putting them out there. I love it. But this idea of a lot of the way that we think, or I don't know, society or mainstream culture thinks of leadership was a very like top down image, a very like, oh, I'm going to lead by telling you what to do, and then you're going to do it, and we're going to have these followers that are like looking up to this person. And I think that it has worked. There are places for it, but I think it's time for us to move into something different. And this idea of collaborative leadership is so exciting because it means that any of us can take ownership of our lives or businesses, of what's going on in the world and wanting to make a difference, that we don't need to seek external leadership. We don't need to find somebody else to follow, that we're actually all empowered to step forward and take ownership of this day, of this moment, and to, like you say, to link arms with one another, and then we can all move forward in leadership together and grow stronger together. And instead of it being like one person with idea and this like mass, it's like, oh, we can actually all bring our leadership to the table and be valued for that. And so I got super excited when you brought this topic together, and the people that we've gotten to work with on this book are just absolutely amazing humans. What a treat. Oh, so
Well, for if you by some chance have not had an opportunity to hop on Amazon or wherever you get your books and get Ignite Your Leadership, I do invite you to go ahead and check it out. Ignite Your Leadership is really an outstanding. I mean, every single one of the anthologies we've done together, Elizabeth, have been very good. I have gone back. I have a secret to tell you, but I'll tell you afterwards. But over the past couple of weeks, I've been going back and reading through previous anthologies that we've done together, like Transformation, which was an anthology that allowed us to look at the things that are happening in our lives that might not feel amazing, but that actually offer us an opportunity for growth. I thought that was so great. And when I went back and I read it, I was like, oh, this was in here. And this other thing was in here. It was just so outstanding. Then I pulled out Success in Any Season. And this one we launched right in the height of the pandemic when everybody was pivoting. Remember that word, Elizabeth? Pivoting.
yes, pivot.
Oh my gosh, everybody was pivoting. And we got together an amazing group of authors who also had to make changes in their businesses during that challenging time. Some of them told stories about other times in their lives when they've had to make big changes, and how actually out of this change comes growth and we can be successful at any time. And then I was reading Beacon, Be the Beacon. Oh my gosh, I love that book so much. I swear to you, it has been on the Amazon read of the week at least twice over the past few months, at least twice that I know of. Read of the week. I was reading it and I see why. It really, really stands out. The women who came together for Be the Beacon, those women were inviting us to shine our light more brightly, to not for a moment step back and feel reticent, but to actually, even if we've never felt like our message was worth anything, to actually get out there and share it anyway. And I feel like that struck a chord with a lot of people. And then it seems like, maybe because it's the time of year when people are looking at goals and that sort of thing, but you might want to check the stats, because there's been an uptick in Answer the Call. Answer the Call is a workbook for those of you who haven't seen it yet. And basically, Answer the Call we got 12 like outstanding visionaries when it comes to visibility, online visibility, marketing. We had one expert who she actually wrote the textbook on PR. We got 12 amazing visionaries to come together for this one, and it was pretty outstanding. But I think what people are doing, this is the feedback I've been getting, because I had an opportunity to sit with some women this week and have some conversation last week and have some conversation with them about why Answer the Call is back on the sellers list. And basically, it's the time of year, and people are thinking that if they start at the beginning, since there are 12 worksheets in the book, if they start at the beginning and they do one every month, like focus on one area of their visibility every month, and by the end of the year, their visibility overall for their business will increase. So Answer the Call has been doing well. Like I said, I've been diving into all these books and it's been amazing. So saying all of that to say, Elizabeth, you have the blueprint really for people getting their message out there to a much wider audience than they have had in the past. Can you share with us some tips, some do's and don'ts? Because people who watch a show, they like practical things. Do's and don'ts for getting our message out there, being more visible, from you as a publisher, author, best-selling author. What are some of the tips that you have to share?
Yes, so I love talking about this. So first off, being a book is a great opportunity to get your message out there, whether it's your own book that you put together and you're the only author, or if you're in a collaboration, you're working with other authors. Both of these are great things for being more visible, having people view you as an expert. It can bring you more speaking opportunities and all of that. It's really strategically smart to be part of a book collaboration, because you are not only reaching it's not just your audience anymore. Most of the book collaborations are around 15 or 20 people. That allows you to tap into the networks of all these other people that are part of the collaboration. It also, I've gotten to witness, we've now had over 100 people be part of different collaborative works. And when I get to see how they've developed friendships, collaborations, working relationships with the different authors in the book, it's so cool to get to witness that from the outside and see, oh, how people are growing together and working together in ways that they might not have known were possible before. So strategically, the collaborative books, very smart to do. You do need to engage with the other authors and be willing to be visible. And that is a thing that can be scary at first. I know when I first published my first book, I had a hard time talking about it. It was a little scary for me to talk about the book. So there is, that's why I like the things that we we do around our visibility circle offer is that we are also, and in the collaborations, that it's, yes, you're going to be visible, but you also get that support for if it feels a little scary to get visible at the same time, right? Like we hold you in that space. So for some people, it's like, oh, for some people, it's not hard in the same way. For some people, they just want that boost to get out there and the figuring out how. Some people want, there's something that might be confronting about being visible. So we can provide that support as well in that way. And I do that with the authors too. It's like, okay, you're going to be visible. Here's things that can show up to make, as that happens. The other thing I want to talk about with this is that sometimes we think of marketing and visibility, and a lot of people think they have to do things for marketing that are someone else told them to do, or there's like this thing to do, this path to follow. They have to do something that somebody else wants. What I've found with marketing for my business and for my authors is that you basically pick the thing that lights you up and that you enjoy and it's fun, and do that, right? You don't need to force yourself to do a platform that doesn't feel fun for you, or doesn't like I love Facebook. So I'm on Facebook. I love doing calls with you and podcasts and talking to, different people, right? That I'd be interested in talking to. I like writing. So I write and I put together books, right? So, and that, because I've done marketing in that way for my business, I've chosen the things that light me up and that excite me, that I get people coming, and it doesn't even feel like work. It doesn't even feel like people know how to find me. They come to me for different projects, right? And I think that can be helpful for people as they go forward in running their business. Is okay, let me select the 3 things that feel aligned for me, and books are a great way to do that, especially for people that feel like they might not be in love with marketing, right? They might not be in love with putting themselves out there. This is a really nice way to collaborate, create, and to have clients come to you rather than you having to track them down and convince them to hire you, right? It's a totally different experience when you're promoting. It is promotion, it is marketing, but it doesn't feel like it at all. And it can help you grow your business.
So some of the do's that you're saying is, if you're going to be in a collaborative project, whether it is you with one other person or you with a group of other people, you need to actually be with, or even if you're going to do your own work, your own book all by yourself, you need to be willing to be visible. That's huge. I think that's a really, really great tip. And I would go a little further to say, one of the 5 steps of growing smarter, growing our businesses smarter, step 1 is ask. And I would invite people to take some time for quiet contemplation, go within, take some deep breaths, journal about it. What is it that you actually want? Ask yourselves, do you want this visibility? And if you're feeling like you don't, feel free to journal around what's coming up for you that is preventing you from wanting this visibility. So I love your first tip. And your second tip is, you don't have to follow the traditional path. Who knows something about that? Me. It's me. I know something about that, because what do I like doing? Not the traditional marketing, but do I love to come on this TV show? Yes. Do I love being on our Ladies Power Lunch podcast, hosting our Ladies Power Lunch Facebook group, having our monthly networking meetings, having our summits, having our retreats? Oh my goodness, all of that stuff lights me up. So guess what? I take your advice, Elizabeth, and I do that, and I focus my energy on that, and it all seems to fall into place. Any other tips that you can share with us, Elizabeth, about how we can get our message out there in front of a much wider audience than we have in the past?
Well, using the book collaborations helps because we do have tried and true formula for receiving #1 bestseller status. So this, and we use SEO keywords and all of that. So that does help. When you are using a book for marketing, you do want to be able to do that for the yes, it feels good to say that you're a best-selling author. That feels great. It also gives you that, so it gives you credibility in that way, but it also helps your book become more visible, and that on Amazon and on the web, which is where most books are sold. And that, when I talk about selling the books, it's not only about the monetary gain, it's also about you being able to be seen and be visible, that can result in them hiring you to do other work and giving you more opportunities. So being strategic around that. So using that bestseller status, using the web to be more visible is important too. Having a web presence as an author or as a business owner, I feel, is important. It does give you a that certain people do have businesses without having a web presence, right? You can do it, but it does. That is, when I first meet someone at a networking event, and I go, oh, that sounds interesting what they do. I want to see their website because I want to learn about them. I want to read read more about them, read their story. So that's something that I think is important, a foundational thing to help you become more visible. And there's all certain ways to grow that as well. I would say pick 1 or 2 social media platforms that you really enjoy and do that to help increase your visibility. I think those are important points. And then let's see, I think it's very important to learn how to use your story in becoming, as you are introducing yourself, you can getting clear on telling your story and what brought you to be doing the work that you're doing, right? So and this can be helpful when you're going to networking meetings, or when you're writing an email, when you are writing an article, or when you're meeting people, to be able to get comfortable. And at first it might not feel comfortable, to get more comfortable in sharing personal things about yourself, because that's what what helps businesses grow and helps give you more opportunities, is when people get to know, like, and trust you. And we say know, love, and trust you, right? That you develop that trust and that feeling of, when I started coming to Ladies Power Lunch, everybody became my friend. These are my friends. I kept showing up because I wanted to see my friends, right? And that has helped my business grow. And I think being able to be more vulnerable and share, it doesn't mean I'm only talking about me and only saying my stuff, but when I shared personal stuff, then people can have that connection, right? They go, oh, she really knows this stuff, or, oh, we have this in common. And right. So it helps people to relate to you, see you as a real person, not just like a website or a business card. It's like, oh, this is a real person with a lived experience, and this is where she came from, and this is what she's doing now. How cool is that, right? So and there is something around, so just sharing your story in that way can help. And whether it's verbally sharing your story, writing, sharing your story, different ways.
If you had to give us one piece of homework, just one thing that we could do over the next week or so to grow our visibility, get our message out to a whole lot more people, what would be that one thing? Like, just one thing for us to take away from our conversation together here.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say I would say join Ladies Power Lunch. That's what I would say. I would say join Ladies Power Lunch. I would say be part of a book collaboration. I think there is nothing like it. And it helps you grow so much as a human being, as a business owner, as in helping you become more visible. I think that it's a wonderful thing to do. If you're not ready to dive into one, you could also look at, okay, who could I talk with about my story? Who could I reach out to today and look at how we can share our stories in some type of public way. Maybe it might be going live with the other person and interviewing each other, right? It could be reaching out to each other's networks and sharing each other's stories and experiences in that way, right? So it's basically using the things that we do in the collaborative books, but putting it into practice in your business. So you growing those collaborations, sharing your stories with each other's network, and see how that feels to do with one other person. Like, what does that collaboration feel like? Kind of tiptoe into it could be a neat place to start.
I love that. I love that as a way to dip your toe into the idea of telling your story and into the idea of collaboration, because both of those things might not be immediately intuitive for everybody. It might not be everybody's wheelhouse or everybody's first thought. So your suggestion to pick a partner, get a partner, somebody that you feel like you could trust, and somebody whose story is aligned with yours, whose vision is aligned with yours, who might have a similar audience to yours, but who might not be a competitor per se, even though I'll go so far as to say there is no competition, but that's my stuff. And go live together, interview each other. I love that so much. Share each other's network, maybe put a guest blog on their blog, have them put a guest blog on your blog, maybe do some kind of, and we do this in the Ladies Power Lunch group all the time, do some kind of Facebook group takeover where you have a day where the other person is responsible for the posting and the hosting of the group, and just see how that feels. Do it for a week and report back. Let us know what you think. Elizabeth, people are going to want to know how they can get in touch with you. What would you tell somebody trying to reach out?
Yes. So you can find me on greenheartliving.com. You'll be able to reach me there. You can find me on Facebook. I'm very active there. Feel free to friend me, Elizabeth B. Hill. And you can send me a message there. I'm happy to connect with you.
Yes. And of course, everybody can always go to greenheartliving.com. We have, Elizabeth and I, an upcoming collaboration. We have another book in the works, and we are right now inviting you, yes, you, if you feel like you have a message to share that the world needs to know about, I invite you to reach out to Elizabeth, because we are inviting the next group of collaborative authors for our upcoming book we're launching in October of 2023, and it's going to be called Live Your Optimal Life. We're inviting stories of people who maybe they haven't lived their optimal life this whole time, but they figured out the blueprint and they're ready through their experiences to share that with us. Or maybe they've always known and maybe they have something to share that will help us to, as we're growing our businesses, as we're being the best that we can be, as we're sharing our best message with our audience, we can also be taking care of ourselves. Yes. And so for people who want to participate in that, you can go to growsmarter.com/visibility. At the beginning of each show, I pull a card, and I thought I'd pull from Tusha Silver's Divine Abundance deck this morning, because I know for sure that Elizabeth also has this deck. And it's interesting, the card I pulled this morning says humility.
Oh my.
Humility, right? And I am wondering, how does humility play in as we are telling our stories? It says, allow me, divine, to always accept the right assistance,
Mm.
welcome your help in every way, and delight in receiving it. For me, this is saying that we tend to be siloed in our businesses by ourselves. But what would happen if we accept the right assistance? What would happen if we're in that receiving mode where it's okay to tell our stories? What's this saying for you? What are you getting from that card?
Oh, yeah. That card, so humility. So first of all, I always don't think of myself as humble, and in my family, we are like, oh, we're not humble at all. It's kind of a funny thing. We're like, yeah, that's not us. But I really like this message of being willing to ask for and receive assistance. That is the shift I had to take to have my business be successful. And it is also the shift I had to learn to take to being willing to talk about my story. It's like own up to the fact where things weren't perfect or I didn't have it all together, right? To actually be vulnerable. And that does come up as we share our stories and write our books and put them out into the world. So that's a powerful card.
It's always the right card for whatever it is that we're talking about. Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate you for tuning in. I want to say that I know most of the people who tune into our show actually watch on the replay, but here's the thing. There is value to joining live, and here's why. We're going to stop recording right about now, but the conversation doesn't end. As a matter of fact, we go on for a full half hour after this. And for those of you who join in live, you will be able to get that part of the recording. But for those of you who don't, you're going to kind of miss out on that. So thank you so much for tuning in. We still appreciate you watching on the replay, and we invite you to come back every single Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern for Grow Your Business Smarter, Live Your Optimal Life. I'll see you guys on the next show. Bye, everyone. Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Ladies Power Lunch Show. Thank you so much for joining. I want to take a moment to introduce our very special guest today, Elizabeth Hill of Green Heart Living Press. She is the mastermind behind all these amazing anthologies and single author works that we have been able to put out through the Ladies Power Lunch brand. And she is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to collaboration. Yes, you knew it wasn't going to be long before you tuned into the show and you heard me say the word collaboration. She's a master of coaching because her previous life before she ended up in this whole publishing space was actually focused on helping her clients. And she's an amazing master of helping us to get our stories out there in front of a wider audience. I love Elizabeth, but I'd love for her to, in her own words, share with you who she is and what exactly it is that she's doing in the world. Elizabeth, will you share?
Yes. So yeah, I am the owner of Green Heart Living Press, and I help people share their stories of personal growth and transformation. So it is I like to say it's my dream job. I can't believe I get to do this for a living, or I get to honor people's stories and be with them through the sharing of it, and to help make the world a better place. I like to say a more loving and peaceful place through the sharing of stories, because I get to meet the most amazing people every day that are authors. And as they share their stories, they're doing it because they want to help. They've been through something and they want to help somebody else that's going through that same thing. They want to have it make a difference for somebody else and make somebody else's life better and lighter as a result. And so I get to meet the most loving, peaceful people in the coolest in my work. And it's really nice to get to do that. And it's been a joy to collaborate with you, Dr. Davia, and all the people that you have attracted into Ladies Power Lunch. Amazing entrepreneurs, heart led people, just amazing humans, and it's a good life. That's what I want to say. It's a good life to be surrounded by folks like this. So
Elizabeth,
grateful.
I love that you are a part of our community. I love all the work that you do to support our members so that they can get their messages out there in a bigger way, in a much bigger way than they could with the traditional marketing route. But can you tell us a little bit about your background? Tell us where you're coming from, because people probably thought that you just rolled out of bed and boom, you were a publisher, which you totally did. But can you share with
Sort of.
us? Can you
How
share
this
with us
happened, I don't know.
how did you get here? What was your path?
Yes. So my path was I worked in the nonprofit field for 15 years. I studied, well, my undergrad was in psychology and theater. I was mostly hanging out in a theater building. I'll tell you the truth. I did like, and I studied psychology to try to figure out my brain because I was just kind of crazy, and my family was crazy. I was like, I got to figure this all out. So that's what I did in undergrad, and then working in the nonprofits in Connecticut. And then I got my master's in social work. And so it was my master's was in community organization. I took that and worked in the nonprofits, primarily in community type organizations, writing grants, putting together, organizing programs, and helping to help communities grow, to fight poverty, and help get people jobs and things like that. And I actually used a lot of publishing skills and writing skills in my nonprofit field. I also taught yoga at the same time, which if anyone's been in the nonprofit field, it is a very, very stressful place to be. So I totally needed to go do yoga when I wasn't there. And I then went into coaching because I saw life coaching, I saw as this wonderful way to combine the work that I did in the nonprofits and social work and yoga teaching to really help people. And I knew, I was like, this coaching thing, I think I could do this from home, have it be a much a better environment, less stressful, working from home so I could be there for my kids and all of that. So that's the background. Always also doing some theater and being involved in that in the background as well. And something happened as I was coaching where I was developing my coaching business. Eventually, I started working for a coaching company where I was helping people across the country that had like medical issues. I was helping them kind of cope with the anxiety and the things that were surrounding those medical issues. And at some point, I looked around and 8 of my 10 private clients, so these were aside from the company, these were my life coaching clients, were authors and wanting me to help them publish books. It hadn't really occurred. I had published my own book about 6 years ago that was around avoiding burnout, helping people that are like social workers, teachers, people, and helping and healing professions avoid burnout. And once I did that, people started coming to me going, you did this, how could I do this too? But it hadn't occurred to me as an actual thing I could do for work. It's funny, it was just like too cool for me to think I could do this for work, is actually helping people do this. And then I started, shifting into that and saying that this is what I did. And so now we published over 30 books as a company. We have 20 in the works right now, and they're all just amazing, incredible people wanting to make the world a better place by sharing their stories. So it does weave together everything from my background that I know how to do. And because I have a lot of the stories that people are sharing are very emotional. Some of them are traumatic, not all of them. Some of them are things that have happened that are very difficult to talk about and share. So because I have this background in social work and yoga, this helps too. I can actually be with them as they're sharing that story with me first. and get comfortable in sharing that story, putting it on paper, and then taking that next step of, okay, now I'm going to tell somebody else and share it with the world. And so it's a really beautiful thing, and it takes a lot of courage, right? That often the people that are coming to me, it takes courage to share the stories they have. We also have a lot of business owners that are like, I love reading their stories because I find out what's driving them to do this work. And sometimes we don't realize that. I don't realize that always until I read their chapters that they submit, and I'm like, oh my goodness, how amazing that they're using this for good, right? That they're trying to put good things into the world when some of them have been through some hard things, right? Um, so
And that's outstanding, Elizabeth. There's a reason why I asked you to share your trajectory, share your path, because our show is primarily listened to by women in business, women who might be entrepreneurs, women who might be small business owners, who might be leaders in a corporate setting, or even by women who are finding themselves now in a more mentorship situation. But one of the things that I think a lot of us have in common is that where we started out is not necessarily where we've ended up right now. We've probably had some twists and turns. We've probably, like you have, Elizabeth, started out with a degree in theater and psychology, then with another degree in sociology. And here you are as an outstanding publisher and writing coach for heart-centered women in business who need to get their messages out in front of a wider audience. So the reason I'm inviting you to share this is because a lot of us might feel like, oh, the thing that I'm doing, but it's not my degree, or the thing that I'm doing, it's not where I started, or the thing that I really want to be doing, it's not what I'm doing right now. And I see that you have given us perhaps permission to step into the thing that we really, really, truly love. What do you think about that?
I love that. And so what comes to mind with that is that sometimes we don't know why we're having the jobs that we have along the way, right? So I can't, at the nonprofit jobs that I had, in two different cases, I was given assignments to design like annual reports, design newsletters, publications. I literally had no experience. I had nothing that said they should give me these jobs, right? I was good at it and I did it, but I know it was like the universe, right? Something bigger than me saying, you need to learn this for the future, right? I didn't know it was going to lead to this, but when I look back, I go, I see why I was given that assignment there. I see why that happened. So first of all, if you find yourself in a place that feels like, oh man, this doesn't feel totally aligned or whatever, there might be a reason. There might be a thing that you are to learn in that space. And then you also get to leave, right? Once you've learned the thing, right? There was a guilt in leaving the nonprofits because I felt like they needed me, but I knew that I had something else to go do, and I got to go do that. And so, and it does take courage to step out and to be like, oh, I'm doing this. And there was years of me balancing both and juggling both and all of that, right? So I get what that's like too. But it does feel like on the other side of that, I mean, I really do wake up every day and I don't have conversations I don't want to have. I get to only talk to people that really like I'm jazzed about, right? Like I'm 100% wanting to talk to the people I'm talking to. I only take on projects that I'm like, yes, this is awesome, right? That I get to do this. And that can be your reality, right? If entrepreneur, right? You keep taking those steps that you get to create your days. Now my problem is going, oh wait, I can only blame myself that my schedule's the way it is, right? Like I go, oh, who set this up? Oh, I set it up. So that's my biggest problem, but I'm working on that. but I'm so passionate about helping people become entrepreneurs and do the work that they're passionate about and getting clear on that, because it's so nice over here doing this. Like, it's not without challenges. And sometimes it's, well, like, oh man, it's a lot, but I love it, right? I love it on this side, to be able to really take, I mean, sovereignty is very important to me, to be able to be in control of my life. Like, I mean, we don't really have control, but sovereign over our life, our decisions, where we're being, our, our financial situation, to be empowered to be able to look at all those things and to manage all of those things. And that is what entrepreneurship does, right? It can provide that path. So I love it. So fun. And a lot of our authors are in that space. A lot of them are entrepreneurs, not all of them. Some of them are working, and they might have a they might be doing both, or they might be very excited and happy about their work that they have and their career, and not be interested in the entrepreneur space, but be very powerful, interesting, amazing people, and have stories that they want to put out there. So yeah.
That's beautiful, Elizabeth. Just really, really heartfelt. And I think that our audience will really connect with that, because so many of us find ourselves doing things because we've been guided along that path, perhaps by teachers or by parents. But when we get to this stage where we're able to make the decisions for ourselves, it's okay to switch things up and go from working for a nonprofit to being a publisher. It's okay to do that. And I love that you've given us permission for that. Our show tends to be attracting the kinds of people who want practical things that they can apply to their businesses so that they can see growth. So we're here today to talk a little bit about growing our visibility and getting our message out there in front of a much larger audience. Can you give us some do's and don'ts as a publisher, as a best-selling author many, many times over? What's your story? How can we get our message out there in front of a much wider audience than we've been seeing up to this point?
I think if I were to pick one, I want to pick like 20 things, but if I had to pick one, I'd say be in a collaborative book. There's so much power in being in a collaborative book. And you're in a book with 15 to 20, sometimes 25 different authors. Often you're in that book because the topic of the book is something that you feel passionate about and attracted to. And so it's bringing people together that are going to be aligned with you and your work, and to see what comes from that. We don't always know what collaboration could bring, whether it's a business opportunity, whether it's future clients, referrals, if it's running a program together, if it's whatever, friendship and support for yourself, right? As you grow your business, it's very important to have that support. So the collaborative books just are working so well. And I've done 12, I think, so far total. And we've done so many of them have been Ladies Power Lunch collaborations. And so I think that is the most important. And I do want to put this, I was thinking about this earlier, that sometimes if people are afraid of doing a collaboration or like partnering and playing with other people, you wrote a lot about this in the Grow Smarter book, because there's probably a reason, like their collaborations haven't been set up in ways that felt right for them, right? That might not have felt good. And so they might have developed like a fear of them or a distrust, or like, oh, I'm not going to do that again. And that your book talks about how you can intentionally set up collaborations to go well. Right. And that's what we do with the our collaborative books. And you can also do that in any collaborations that you are part of as a business owner, to actually figure out how to do them in a way that it will feel right and feel good, instead of like feel like you're doing all the work, or this person, you end up not trusting that person and it blows up in your face or whatever. Like, it doesn't have to be that way. So if people, I am curious because I think sometimes that might come up when people hear the idea of the collaborative book. It's like, oh, no thanks. Like, I don't want to be, you know, collaborating or working with other people. And that same like distrust or fear might be the thing that's in the way of your business working. So if you can figure out a way to bust through that. So I kind of got off topic, but I think it's on topic. It's the main advice is to figure out how to collaborate, and the book, doing it through a book is just such a smart, awesome way to do it. So make
I
it simple for you. Just
Hey,
hop
you
on
started talking about
the book.
collaboration.
I'm like,
That's my favorite thing. So
right.
there is no off topic when we're talking about collaboration. It's
That's
all on
right.
topic. I love that you bring up the fact that as your number one tip for us to get our message out there to a wider audience, way wider than we've ever had before. I like to tell people that, hey, if you hop on one of Elizabeth's collaborations, you'll be getting your message out to about 20 or 50,000, 20 to 50,000 people who are not random people. They're people who would be your cohort, your ideal type of client. So, Elizabeth, as you are doing these projects, people are going to have reasons why they're going to say, I don't feel like that's the right fit for me. I'll give you an example. Going to tell you a really, really quick story. I have a friend. She's also your friend. I have permission to share her story, but I don't feel like sharing her name. Let's protect the innocent. But I tell the story sometimes because I feel like it's the perfect example of why people don't participate in collaboration books. I went into her office, beautifully appointed office. This woman is, she knows her deal about, decorating, and just really lovely office. I could take a page out of her book. Anyway, I'm looking on her bookshelves and she had 7 collaboration books that she'd been a part of. 7 collaboration books, Elizabeth, and books that I'd never ever heard about, books that probably didn't go further than sitting on her shelf because they're not doing any work for her. And this was before you and I started collaborating together. This was quite a while ago. And, I said to her, hey, I noticed you have all these collaboration books. And she said to me, yeah, but I'm not going to be doing any more of those. And what had happened is the books had become decorative elements on her shelves, and they weren't getting into the hands. And they were all amazing books because I leafed through, I'm nosy, I'm going to do that. They were not getting into the hands of the people who needed those messages the most. And so when I came to do my first collaboration with you, I came to that collaboration with that in my mind, like, I don't know if this is going to help me. And to tell you the truth, your collaboration book wasn't the first one that I ever hopped onto. I had been in collaboration books before. And one of the things that struck me is that I didn't really get a chance to get to know the other authors. So our names are beside each other in these books, but we didn't know who we knew nothing. We had to trust that the collaborator who brought us together actually brought us together with purpose in mind. And so what was standing out for me when I hopped onto your collaboration, the first collaboration that I did with your company, is that you had a Facebook group for us and you gave us opportunity to mastermind together every month with your writer's hive. And it was just a different environment. And then when you had our books published, there were opportunities for us to use these stories in our businesses to grow our businesses. I love that, love that, love that. Can you tell me a little bit, Elizabeth? And I know we're going out into the weeds here, but tell me a little bit why these were things that were important for you to have as part of the projects that you were putting forward.
Yes, this is very important to me because I think so it could be very easy to be in a book collaboration and just submit a chapter and not really not meet with the other authors. I mean, some collaborations are just set up that way. That's not really the intention. It's just, okay, we'll do the book. What I love this, is being able to bring the authors together early on so they can get to know each other, because the power in this is not only having this book to share out into the world, but also in getting to meet each other and to grow together as people, and to look for how you can help each other grow your businesses, right? And so I do this intentionally with book collaborations, where yes, there is a Facebook group, the Writers Hive, where everyone can come together, not just in this book collaboration, but anyone that has ever worked with me. And then, they might have done a book 2 years ago and they can share from their experience too. So you also get to connect this larger group of writers and entrepreneurs as well. And we do have a monthly mastermind at the beginning of the month, where you can bring any topic that's writing related and or book related, marketing related in regards to that, and get support and share and create together. I have it is important that you do need to show up in some way in the book collaboration. So there are times where the author needs to step in and participate in that, because you don't need to, right? But it's way more fun, and you'll get a lot more out of it by engaging in some way. And you do get to choose your level of engagement with the group, right? What feels comfortable for you, but it's a lot more fun. You get a lot more meaning and can get a lot more benefit for your business the more that you do get to know the other authors, right? And getting to know them, and also looking at ways that you could, maybe we could actually do a workshop together or something, right? There's all different ways. Maybe I can be on your podcast and you'll be on my podcast, right? There's all sorts of different ways that are even beyond the intentional structures I set up for the collaboration, where there's a lot of opportunities for that, and through that you offer too when we're doing a collaboration together. There's also things that we don't even know about that people could create together, which is really cool to get to witness that. But you got to step up and be willing to be visible in that way, and to engage.
I think I agree with you that you have to be willing to step up and engage, but I think that what makes your collaboration stand out among all the different collaborations out there is that you have put into place the structures for people to step into and step up and collaborate. And I think that is why I have 7 best-selling books that we have done through your program, and people know about them. They're out there. They're working every single day. I just found, I got an email that this book that we did this one, Answer the Calling, spring 2020. Yeah, just this year, spring 2022, we did Answer the Call, and it's been on the Amazon read of the week twice over the past few months. It's still out there. It's still working for people. It's still doing what it's supposed to do. It's getting into the hands of people who need it the most. And I think that's where what you do stands out compared to some of the other collaborations that I've been part of, and some of the other collaborations that I've seen other people be a part of. People are going to want to reach out to you, Elizabeth. How can they do that?
Yes, you can find me on greenheartliving.com. Very easy to look me up and connect with me there, or from me on Facebook, Elizabeth B. Hill. Happy to connect in that way.
Awesome. And Elizabeth and I are doing a collaboration together. We're launching another book come October, but we're inviting our authors now because it takes some time for us to get all of these collaborative structures in place. And so, if you have a message to share that feels right when you think of our theme for this book, which is live your optimal life, if you feel like you have a message to share around that, I invite you to connect with us. Grow smarter, not harder.com/visibility is where you would be able to connect with us on that. So thank you so much, Elizabeth, for being a part of our show today. Really, truly appreciate you. And I want to thank everybody who tuned in today. I'll see you guys on the next show. Bye, everyone.